Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren will go head to head in an epic 5 vs 5 showdown. Much is on the line in terms of bragging rights as to who is the biggest UK promoter. The event was meant to be part of the BTRBF Bivol undercard, but due to the injury to Arthur, this will now be the main showpiece event, and maybe rightly so. But lucky for us boxing fans, Bivol is still fighting on the card. It's an event with a bit of a twist though, with points won and lost in a league system. The winners will be awarded 1 point for a decision and 2 points for a knockout. No points will be awarded for a draw. A win from the team captains, however, from Sheeraz or Wilder, will give double the points. Personally, I think this is a fun and different way to keep you engaged with the fight night, and no doubt we will see Eddie and Frank going at it on the night. But let's get right into each fight and how it could play out. First up, let's look at the main event, where we have Big Bang Zhang versus Deontay Wilder. Both fighters are looking to revive their careers, I guess, after that decision loss to Joseph Parker. Zhang, a powerful southpaw who has never been stopped, with those back-to-back stoppages of Joe Joyce last year. However, as much as he had a strong start versus Parker, knocking him down, his age is starting to show in my opinion, as he slowed down as the rounds went on, and that so-called Big Bang power diminished as Parker was able to outbox him and stick to his game plan. But for Zhang in this fight, I think he should play out the Parker approach to Wilder, by closing the distance to prevent him from using the full leverage of his power, as applying that consistent pressure will force Wilder onto the back foot, where he is less effective. While Zhang should increase his punch output to outwork Wilder in these positions if he plants his feet at any time. By doing this, Zhang could also set up his counter-punch opportunities versus Wilder, who looks to post out or frame out the lead hand at times. And this can lead Zhang to set up that devastating right hook cross counter.
Not take too much time off. I would love to see that.
Counter left hand and a big one.
We know that Zhang also has put a little...
Oh! What a shot! Right hand! Joe Joyce face down!
While even getting Wilder into a lead hand battle, which is often the case in southpaw orthodox encounters, may very well lead to the opening. I also think working the body will be key for Zhang to make Wilder drop his guard as seen in the Parker fight, but for me, I think a faster start is required for Zhang to potentially take out Wilder, or he could get caught himself. But now looking at the Bronze Bomber, he's desperate for a win after a long period of inactivity and that loss to Parker. While Zhang's power and durability pose a threat, we all know Wilder's explosiveness could lead to an early KO, as we've seen so many times in the past. I think it's clear we need to see Wilder use his jab and right hand more in this fight, and for me in the Parker fight, I thought we saw some good lateral movement, which is probably better to use against someone like Zhang rather than Parker, who's much quicker at moving with his feet, and someone like Zhang who fights at a much slower pace, and for the most part needs to plant his own feet to get off his punches. It will not let him set up those devastating counters. However, Wilder needs to try and subtly get into that outside position to set up that right hand down the line. I also think Wilder, much like Zhang, should also target the body, where he had a lot of success against opponents like Fury when he did this, and these heavy jabs will no doubt drain Zhang's energy, as he tends to show a lot of fatigue as the rounds go on, and naturally he starts to drop his guard, which could just create the opening for that right hand. And for that scenario to happen, I think undoubtedly will come down to the patience and timing of Wilder. If he can make Zhang work in the early rounds, while still landing impactful right hands and body shots, I feel this will unquestionably work in his favour in the later rounds. And this fight could well be about who lands the big shot first, and a win in Saudi Arabia could just give them one last big payday, or push either fighter closer to retirement. In terms of my pick, I'm going to go for the Bronze Bomber to get the KO win. As much as I think Zhang is a better overall boxer, I think we could see Zhang walk into a big right hand as the rounds go on. Next, we have Hrgovic versus Daniel Dubois, and in this clash, it could determine the IBF heavyweight title challenger. Hrgovic, unbeaten and the IBF's #1 contender, and definitely has the skills to keep Dubois at bay. But Daniel, with his heavy hands and great jab, always poses a knockout threat himself. For Hrgovic to effectively neutralise Dubois in my opinion, he should also leverage his own reach and jab to his advantage. For me, Hrgovic is most dangerous when at range, with proven knockout power in that right hand. and has always been best when there's a bit of distance between him and his opponent.
He has 2 losses, been stopped twice, and both of them.
Similar to the likes of Vladimir Klitschko, I guess. With that being the case, I think he should avoid those inside exchanges with Dubois and avoid unnecessary brawls where the likes of McKean and Zhang had success against him with. But overall, I think Hrgovic using his jab and boxing from the outside, looking to set up the right hand counter as Dubois tries to close the range, will be key in winning this fight, as Dubois can tend to overcommit at times and leave himself open, as he himself tries to land his own power punches. For Dubois, I think he needs to apply pressure on Hrgovic from that opening bell. By closing that distance quickly, Dubois can negate Hrgovic's reach advantage and force him into a fight at close quarters, where Hrgovic is not comfortable fighting from and cannot get off his power. While I also think targeting the body early of Hrgovic will also help sap his energy away, and he does look uncomfortable when this punch has landed in the past, making him have to reset himself. While a jab or feint to the body followed by a right hand often has seen him post out his lead hand, which could leave him open for the right overhand. Dubois is also very useful with his own jab as well, and I think this will be a key factor in the fight as to who can establish their jab first, while utilising it in more ways. And for me, I feel Dubois needs to take Hrgovic into the later rounds where he is also shown to fatigue and leave himself open to counters. And very much like the main event, it could come down to who can land their right hand first and win the lead hand battle. For me though, Dubois has shown vulnerability in the past, but is also remarkably resilient at times. However, stylistically, I think this fight suits Hrgovic, as Dubois himself also likes to fight from range, and I just feel it slightly suits the Croatian that bit more. This is a huge fight however, and it could lead to a massive payday fight with Anthony Joshua, or possibly the IBF title, and is a pivotal crossroad fight for both guys. But for me, I have to edge Hrgovic on this one, and I wouldn't even be surprised if he stops Dubois. Next up, we're in the middleweight division, as Hamza Sheeraz takes on Austin Williams. Sheeraz has been on a knockout streak, showing impressive power and a commanding jab with his size and reach advantage. However, Amo Williams is no slouch either, as is ranked in the top 5 by 3 governing bodies. For me, it's great to see 2 top contenders in the middleweight division getting a big opportunity and potentially a title shot next. In terms of the fight itself, for Sheeraz, I think he needs to use his size and reach to his advantage, keep Williams at bay with his stiff jab while controlling the distance, and by doing this it will prevent Williams from closing in and utilising his own power, while I think him establishing the jab early will help him set up power shots later down the line, particularly that right hand and left hook of his.
And he's just caught him there. Sheeraz thinking this is it with the right hand, and down he goes. What a punch.
Personally, I feel Sheeraz is better when he's maintaining that distance and should avoid inside exchanges as much as possible, looking to pick his shots while using lateral movement out to his left to create angles for his punches. If he can do this, it may just frustrate Amo Williams, and he could very well set up his counters as Williams tries to close the distance. But defensively, Sheeraz must stay sharp, keeping high concentration levels versus Williams, as he can be very dangerous with his own attacks himself. For me, it's more about Sheeraz keeping Williams guessing and preventing him from settling into his own rhythm so he can set up his own power shots. For Amo Williams on the other hand, he is quite a versatile fighter in the fact that he's a southpaw, while he can very well box in the back foot or apply pressure, and quite often it will come down to how he wants to fight. And with Sheeraz, someone who likes to establish his jab, I think the southpaw versus orthodox matchup will be an issue in this fight for Sheeraz, if Amo Williams is able to take it away from him. With that being the case, I think he needs to negate Sheeraz's reach advantage by first off targeting the body early, while helping to reduce his mobility.
Nice jab there by Conway.
And if he can get Sheeraz to overcommit with his lead hand, I can definitely see Amo being able to launch a left hand at some point. And if he can get that outside position while staying aggressive, will reduce the effectiveness of Sheeraz being able to set up his counters and establishing his jab.
Learn experience for Amo. Right down the middle!
A win here for both men puts them in the prime position for the WBC title shot, or potentially against WBO and IBF champion Janibek, and this fight could well shake up the middleweight division, which has been needed for a while. For me though, I think Sheeraz has this one, as I think the reach and size and proven power will cause problems for Amal Williams in this fight. Nevertheless, it may just come down to how Sheeraz handles the slick southpaw movements of Amal Williams. The 126-pounders Raymond Ford and Nick Ball are set for the only world title fight in the line. Ford, the WBA champion, pulled off a last-second victory to win his title in his last bout, while Ball showed his resilience and power against Ray Vargas, only to get a split decision. But starting with Ford, I think he really needs to utilise his speed and technical ability to control the distance with his southpaw jab and avoid getting those prolonged exchanges with Ball on the inside. As Ball comes into range, he can definitely set up his combinations and jab, however a high work rate and output will be key to stop Ball's aggressive approach. With that being the case, defensively, Ford needs to stay disciplined, especially if he decides to stand and trade and keep the centre of the ring. Otherwise, Ball may just find much success against him. I also feel the body shots played a significant part in slowing down Ball's approach in the early rounds, and I think this could be a key area for Ford to target in this fight. And personally, utilising his southpaw jab, setting up combinations as Ball comes into range, and countering, for me, are the much more appropriate way to win this fight. Ball can get frustrated if he is not landing what he wants, and this could very well lead to openings for Ford. For the Wrecking Ball and Nick Ball, I think going off the evidence of Ford's last fight, he should be looking to close the distance quickly and applying that pressure on Ford, who did leave himself open at times when throwing on the inside in those exchanges. So by him cutting off the ring and forcing the fight into these close quarters, I do feel Ball can negate Ford's speed advantage and utilise his own power effectively. But overall for me, I feel we need a quick start from Ball. If he starts slow again, personally I think this will really suit Ray Ford, and I think he really does need to put it on Ford early in this fight. While he's also proven he can set up devastating shots, particularly with that right hand. And with Ford sometimes leaving himself open in those close exchanges, he could very well set this up, if he continually applies that pressure. Personally, both fighters can show and they can produce drama in the ring, and for me, I could really see this being an ebb and flow fight, with both men showing successes throughout the fight, especially with Ball's aggressive style, Ford's slick skill set. I think this could be a close fight. For me personally, this could go either way. I am going to slightly edge Nick Ball in this one if he applies his game plan a lot earlier by applying that consistent pressure on Ford. However, saying that, I could very well see Ford able to control Nick Ball with his southpaw jab and counters as he comes into range. But it promises to be a firework matchup in my opinion. Finally, we have Craig Richards versus Willie Hutchinson in a light heavyweight clash, with his experience against top opponents, facing a rising star in Hutchinson, who is on the comeback after his loss, winning 4 in a row since his move up to 175 pounds. While Richards is looking to prove he still belongs at the top, Hutchinson is looking to prove himself as a top contender in the light heavyweight division. And this is a fight that could fly under the radar, but is crucial for both men in their careers. Looking at Craig Richards, he should use the experience and technical skills to really control the pace of the fight. He's always been an awkward fighter who utilises the jab effectively, and I believe this can help keep Hutchinson at distance and help him set up his combinations. While Hutchinson definitely has some decent power behind him, so defensive discipline will be crucial for Spider Richards. For me as well, targeting the body early will help in my opinion in terms of setting up the right hand up top. Hutchinson does use a lower lead hand guard, which can create openings for his opponents to set up shots up top.
Man from Hale's Owen is having his moments, he's got him, he's got him!
While Spider Richards can be quite awkward in terms of how he sets up his angles of attack, and this may just keep Hutchinson guessing and prevent him from finding his own rhythm, while helping to set up shots up top. If Richards can frustrate Hutchinson and capitalise on his defensive lapses, I can very well see him get a knockout. Hutchinson, he is quite an awkward fighter. As I mentioned, he uses that lower L guard stance, looking to throw punches as well from unorthodox angles. For me though, I do feel Hutchinson will probably have to push the pace against Spider Richards, looking to force the fight at close quarters, while trying to take away the reach advantage of Richards. While Hutchinson has proven power as well, especially that right hand.
So now he started this contest, won the first 3 rounds. Oh, what a shot!
yes, and that's going to put him down.
And he might just be able to set him up with an overhand right if Richards gets lazy with his jab at any point. But personally, I just think Spider Richards has that little bit more experience than Hutchinson at this level, and I think as the fight goes on into the later rounds, he'll be able to chip away with his lead hand and awkward angles of attack as Hutchinson tries to push the pace, and I can see him winning a points decision. Now, Beterbiev versus Bivol was obviously postponed, however Dmitry Bivol is still going ahead as he faces the unbeaten and unknown Malik Zinad. Bivol, the WBA champion, obviously known for his fantastic technical prowess and Soviet style, will be looking not to slip in this banana skin, as Zinad, from what I've seen, has much power and aggression in his style, while will be seeking to make a name for himself on the big stage. For Bivol, he cannot look past Zinad, otherwise the undisputed fight with Beterbiev could all be but over. So this is a must win for him, and he cannot in any way be careless, as from what I've seen, Zinad could strike lucky if Bivol switches off. However, it's very clear Bivol is just at another level to Zinad in terms of his overall skill set in my opinion. But personally, I think like all of us, we would like to see Bivol really try and go for the knockout, as this is something he hasn't had since 2018, and in terms of going into a fight with Artur Beterbiev, I think this would make a real big statement if he was able to get this going into it. However, the unknown of Zinad really makes him a dangerous fighter in my opinion, and Bivol can't afford to overlook this guy, or the undisputed dream could be over. Overall, I think this is a brilliant event for boxing. It's something different. Two promoters going head to head was something often fantasized, but in my opinion, it makes it engaging and fun for fans to watch along, instead of only being interested in the main event. And fun concepts like this continue to keep fans and new fans engaged with this sport we all love so much. As you can see, I'm going for Team Matchroom in this one, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think will win in the Matchroom versus Queensberry? Will it be Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren getting the final bragging rights? I'd love to know. This has been Jamie from Boxing Life. As always guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.